Hey guys, Three and Out has its own YouTube channel, and we plan on doing coward type numbers. Here's the key. If you're watching this, you like our content, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the page, leave a comment, interact with our stuff. We do stuff on this page on a daily basis. 365. Three and Out podcast right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe right now. Yeah, my take on the Bills is like clearly their quarterback is, one of the more fun players I think of like my life. I mean,
Yep.
I was a little young for like peak Elway. Obviously, I lived through Favre. Rodgers, he was incredible, but it was very smooth. There was not this like chaotic physicality to it. This guy's got like a quicker Roethlisberger, but you've never seen anything like him. It's hard for me to have much faith because they easily could be, several more wins, but all their fucking games look like that. I mean, all their games kind of play out. They're like the better version of the Chargers. The Chargers for like a decade have just been losing. They win a decent amount of these, but and I understand they were like 50-1 to win the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago. And I get it, because the quarterback, I just don't have much faith that one, that they easily could drop one of these next four games in a game that looks exactly like it could screw them, or a playoff game. They'll just get the most devastating loss you'll ever. They're the new Chargers on steroids.
Yep. No, I don't have anything. They're playing really well. I faded them on this show and just in life. I think 5 weeks in a row. Every week I would just tell you about the defensive injuries. The market's not capturing them. Well, then the market kind of bottomed out on them. I remember, this was before the Eagles game. Everyone was like, Allen's done. This team's terrible. I was like, so the market went way too far the other way. They signed Rasul Douglas. He's been great. That's helped really plug up one corner spot. McDermott's made some schematic changes. And some other guys have gotten more comfortable. Over time, It's been a month and a half. That's what happens. So
Cook makes way more plays now than he did, last year.
The offensive line's playing really well. Joe Brady's been great as their new offensive coordinator, and the team's rallied. I have nothing bad to say about Dallas. Since that San Francisco game out, really after the bye, I haven't wanted to fade them. I've only backed them because I loved all the changes they've made on offense, like just their play calling, throwing on early downs, Dak using his legs, which just adds another element, makes their offense much more difficult to defend. And then their defense is, it's kind of boom or bust, but they've really adjusted in post Diggs life. But I will say that the schedule's been very easy if you look at all their wins, and they got the Eagles in a prime spot. The Eagles at the end of just an exhausting run, and they were beat up. Dallas had extra rest at home, and Dallas has been so dominant at home. This is things might not be as easy on the road, outdoors in Buffalo in December, in front of what should be a raucous crowd. I'm going to trust just Allen and this desperate Bills team that's starting to peak to get it done. And for what it's worth, if you're into trends over the past 20 seasons, underdogs in December or January that have a winning percentage of 75% or more, which the Cowboys do, they're just 29, 49, and 2 against the spread. That's 37%. 16, 37, and 2 when they're on a multiple game winning streak, 30%. So, I think that this is the time to sell high on Dallas after that big win, going outdoors in Buffalo. I'm going to trust Allen and then to get it done. This isn't really I don't have many bad things to say about the way Dallas is playing right now, but I'm going to trust the spot and the way that the Bills are playing right now. And I think Allen and company get it done, but I think it will be a competitive game.
To me, the crazy thing is you said the stat to start off about that Tennessee-Miami loss, which, statistically is probably the worst loss given the way it happened with a couple minutes left being up that much. But I don't take Miami. I guess if they were hosting the 1 seed, you wouldn't just say they have no chance against the Ravens, the Chiefs, or whatever. But I was never going to pick them to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I'm sorry, even if they were home. Maybe call me a hater. To me, Dallas is a Super Bowl level team if they had the number 1 seed. And I think that Arizona game is the worst loss of the year, factoring in if you don't take Miami as a legit Super Bowl contender, that loss was statistically worse because Dallas just got their ass kicked in that game. But that to me, in this game against the Bills, they still have a lot to play for. Now, this probably is the only losable game for the Eagles, right? Long flight,
Yep.
Seattle, but I don't know. I feel like Seattle's kind of imploding. Maybe you say one of those Giants games. Hell, maybe this upcoming, the following week, off a short week, the Giants have nothing to lose, DeVito mania, but I don't know. I mean, that Dallas Arizona loss. I mean, they would have two losses right now. Granted, it'd be the Eagles and Niners, but they would be the one seed. They would have just more room to breathe. These games all matter. I mean, there's a lot on the line for both these two teams.
Yep. Yeah, I think that Dallas. Yeah, the way that Dallas, that offense at home too, and there's still, there's still just a little more finesse to me.
Yeah, well, they don't have a big
Um,
power running back. Paul
yeah,
Allen's much more of a space guy. That young guy they got from South Carolina is actually not a bad, but they would really like, obviously Zeke in his prime, but just a physical back for this type game, right? Fuck, they just ram
yep,
it down their throat, control the clock, but that's not really how they play.
yeah. So which I think makes them, that one seed. Not only do you get a bye, but them playing at home more important than I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles need it more this year because they got to get healthy and they need to now they will get the rest, I guess, with this schedule. But yeah, I think Dallas ultimately needs it more than San Francisco or Philadelphia.
I agree.
I think that the Lions would need it more than any team to even have a prayer. I mean, Golf has to be indoors, and that defense is terrible. They're not going to get it. So you can write them off. So then it's like the NFC. This is a 3-team race, and I think Dallas would need to get that. And yeah, you bring up that Arizona loss. Now, if the season ended today, the the Cowboys would have won the division. But the way the schedule breaks, if they say they both win out, then the Eagles would get the 1 seed because they would have split, lost to the
Conference
49ers,
losses.
and then the Eagles lost to the Jets, and the Cowboys lost to the Cards. So that could ultimately do them in for the division, for a 1 seed, and then ultimately, a chance at the Super Bowl.
I just wanted to touch on this game before we get out of here. We talked about a little bit about the Dolphins, but are you buying any of this Jets? I'm sure you saw the quotes. Zach just said, F it. That was their mentality. Now, the first half, it was 0-0. He was awesome in the second half, but it's not like he just played some thorough start to finish ball and game. But maybe they have a little life. Miami short week. Is that kind of a sucker spot? Or is that like, the Dolphins better be careful because now Tyreek's a little banged up. I mean, that was a devastating L, but and it's a divisional opponent. Things get weird. I don't really know what to make of the Jets. I would probably stay away, but I'm tempted.
Yeah, I would probably stay away. I mean, you always want to remind yourself, look, teams aren't as good or as bad as they looked the previous weeks. So then it's easy to fall into this. The Dolphins suck. Look at the Jets last week. Let's bet the Jets. But I will say there's a lot of unknown right now. I might play the Jets. I wouldn't lay it with the Dolphins, but I want to see who plays the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins, like I said, they could be out 3 offensive linemen. Tyreek Hill could be hurt. They have a bunch of defenders that have been hurt.
8.5's a lot of points for a team that get pressure and a quarterback that can't avoid pressure with his offensive line.
And now they're out. Their center's definitely out, and they don't really have a backup. You saw the Titans just get pressure every play. And if Hill's out, I want to see if Javon Holland plays because the Dolphins, then we're down. They've lost both their safeties last week. They've lost 2 linebackers that are out now. They already lost their defensive end, one of the best pass
Jalen
rushers.
Phillips, yeah.
Phillips. So their defense is getting just decimated by injuries. And now your offensive line, and then maybe Tyreek Hill. And I can tell you this Miami offense with Tyreek Hill, the difference between with and without Tyreek Hill is night and day. You go from having to defend Tyreek Hill to River Craycraft. It cannot be more of a difference. And then because of that, you can defend everyone else a lot easier.
Yeah, stack the box a little more, against the run.
You could double Waddle a lot easier, and then you can get pressure on Tua, and Tua, he's just not an elite quarterback that's going to win you games by himself. So yeah,
he can't avoid. He's not great against pressure. Because he's not he's not for being
he's
small.
Not super athletic.
No, you think when you see him like he's going to be some mobile kind of move guy. It's not. He's closer to Jared Goff than I think the casual fan realizes.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, so those offensive line injuries are devastating. So yeah, and then throw in the weather. That's the 30-mile-an-hour winds. That's the ultimate equalizer. So if the
Yeah.
weather ends up being, as of right now, Miami by far, and there's games in the Northeast and it's December, but Miami by far has the worst. Now it's Wednesday. Things could change drastically. There was a chance last week that the Cleveland game was going to have 40 to 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds. Hard to project, especially near lake effect. But as of right now, this Miami game, 30 to 40-mile-an-hour winds possible, which basically make a game close to unplayable from a passing perspective, which would just increase the variance. So, yeah, I think it's Jets or nothing, but I want to see who's playing for Miami later in the week.